Hello world, it's Sammy. Now in today's video, we'll be talking on getting started with Python. Cause why? It is Python programming for beginners. See you right after the intro. Alright guys, welcome back. In today's video, we'll be talking on getting started with Python. Hey, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on the post notification bell, so anytime I post a new video, you get notified by YouTube. And hey, if you're also a returning subscriber, I love you. Welcome back. Alright, let's quickly get our hands dirty with Python. Now, I'm not going to be boring you on why you should learn Python because Python is so cool, or is Python an interpreted language or a compiled language. I won't be boring you with those information. I'm just going to be getting you comfortable as a beginner using Python. So the very first thing you want to do is to actually install Python on your machine. I'm actually using the Ubuntu server, but then if you're on Windows, you could actually install IDEs, which are PyCharm, which is the most popular. You could also use VS Code. I don't know how to use that or install that because I'm not using that for my development process. I'm basically using my Linux virtual machine. So for Linux system to install Python, you just have to do sudo apt or apt-get, then install Python 3, and then you need to pass in the option yes. So you could decide to, okay, I think I will need to expand my screen so that you could see. Okay, so you could basically run this command. You could put this Y option either there or yeah, anywhere you decide to, but then this is the actual command you need to install Python on your machine. Now also note that after installing Python 3, you also want to install a pip. Okay, we'll get to installing pip in the later video. All right, now after installing Python, you then need to know, okay, where is this Python located that you've installed, because most times we are being told that any executable we will run that we install on our system is usually located in the bin folder, right? But then if I'm going to list things on my bin, into listings on my bin now, I'm grepping for Python. Now you can see this is what I have here, but then does that mean that it is actually my interpreter is actually located on my bin directory? Well, no, that's not where my Python interpreter is located. Now to see where your exact Python interpreter is located, you just have to use, I can actually tell you outrightly, but then I like showing you so you can see it, right? Okay, so to see the exact location where your Python interpreter is, and then you begin to appreciate why most time when you're writing a script you have to start it with that exact location. You see the reason why. Now before I move further into that particular area showing you where your Python interpreter is, I would like to let you know that you can actually run Python in two modes: the interactive mode and the non-interactive mode. Now the interactive mode is when you are actually using the Python shell. And hey, lest I forget, I'll be hosting a Python bootcamp, and if you are interested, link to the waitlist is in the description below. Don't forget, if you're interested, you know what to do. All right, so let's continue. So to run the Python interpreter, I just have to, the Python shell, I can also still call it the Python interpreter, but then this is the Python interpreter shell. All right, to run this, I just have to put the Python 3 and then press my enter, and then this is the Python interpreter shell. Okay, now this shell is basically to read input, execute them, print them, and loops over that same sequence again. That is why it is called the Python repo. Most times it's called the Python repo. Most times it's called the Python shell. Most times it's called the Python interpreter shell. But most of the time, amongst dev or amongst engineers, you hear them say the Python repo. Hey, go do this in the Python repo, or go test it out on the Python repo, and then you might be left stunned, like, oh, what's Python repo? Hey, I just told you. All right, so now we are running Python in the interactive mode. Why? Because we could pass in command to it, and then its instructions command to it, and then it reads it, it executes it, and then it prints it. So let's just say we want to print hello, sorry, that's hello Sammy. Now you can see it's read this statement, it executed it, which is the Python interpreter, which is this here, executed this statement, and then prints it out, and then you can see it goes back again to the loop, waiting for the next statement to read. So once it's done reading it, it sends the instruction to the Python interpreter to execute. Once the Python interpreter is done executing, it sends it back to your TTY here, which is your terminal here, for printing. Okay, now I said, how will you know where this your Python interpreter is located? Okay, now to know where your Python interpreter is located, all you just have to do is import the sys module. And hey, also don't worry, we'll be covering this on the Python bootcamp, everything about modules you need to know about in Python, and also how to best utilize import. Because hey, when you're actually building projects, you can't escape importing. Either you're importing your standard modules from the standard library, or you're importing your own modules. And if you don't know how to structure your import, you might run into secular imports and stuff like that. All right, so let's just take it slow and steady. Importing sys. Now to know where it is, you just have to do sys.executable, and now you can see I have user bin python 3. This is the main reason why anytime you want to write a Python script, you are always told to start it with user bin python 3, not bin. sorry about that. This is the reason why you are told to use the user bin python 3 and not bin, because as we've seen earlier, you can see on my bin there I'm having python 3, but then that is not the location where my Python interpreter is. This is the exact location where my Python interpreter is. Okay, so now just like the way the sh shell, right, just like the way the Unix shell operates, the Python shell also operates in that same manner. All right, so this is, we've seen a quick use or a quick demo using the Python shell. But then what if we want to actually use it in non-interactive mode? Okay, so to actually exit from the Python shell, you just have to do Control D. This Control D actually means is the end of file. That's what it means in the Unix system, end of file. So once you actually pressing the Control D when you're in the Python shell, it actually exits from the Python shell. Okay, now we've seen how we could use Python in the interactive mode, and I would also like to drop this point. The same way in which you could create variables, you could execute variables, you could create functions, you could create classes and execute them in a Python file or in a Python script or in a Python module. In the same manner, you can also do that in the Python repo. Okay, all right, so now we've seen how we could run Python in the interactive mode. Let's see how we can run Python in the non-interactive mode. Okay, now running Python in the non-interactive mode, we need to pass in a module to it. Now, in Python, every .py file is called a module. Again, if you're interested in the Python bootcamp, the registration waitlist is actually going to be in the description below. Do endeavor to book your place because it's actually going to be for a limited amount of people. All right, okay, so now let's continue. So every .py file is a Python module. Now don't mistake the concept of module and package. Now we'll be talking about this in the later series, but hey, the goal here is to get you started using what? Python. I'm sorry about that. Okay, now when you pass a module to the Python 3 interpreter, you're actually running it non-interactively, and just like every other command that you actually run, or just like the Unix shell, which is the sh, you could actually pass in options to the Python 3 interpreter. Okay, but then before we actually go into the nitty-gritty, now let's create a demo Python file that is still going to be printing hello Simon. So I'm just going to be using vi as my editor, and then we'll call this hello Simon.py. all right, now press I to enter my inserting mode, and then I'm just going to do print then hello Sammy. Okay, now I'm using double quotes here. It's intentional. Okay, I'm using double quote there is intentional because I wanted to specify also that you could see here I use a single quote, but in this file you can see I'm actually using a double quote. It's on purpose because in Python you could actually specify a string either using a single quote or a double quote. I just wanted to point that out, but when we get to that particular section in the series, we'll cover that. Okay, so now I've created my Python file, or let's just say I've created my Python module, right? So now, how will I run it? Simple. Python 3, then the name of the module. Now you can see what? Hello Sammy. But then I said earlier that when running it in the uninteractive mode, you could actually pass in what? Options now. Sorry, I'm very, very sorry about this. All right, now you could actually run it in the non-interactive mode. Okay, now when running this in the non-interactive mode, you could actually pass in some options, right? Now, one of those options, okay, I will just actually specify 3 options, of which you would most of the time use, one of them being very, very popular. Okay, the first option that you want to try out is actually using the I option, which is Python 3, the I option, and then your module name. Okay, now the I option there stands for interactive. Well, then what does this do? Okay, this particular option allows you go into the Python shell after running the Python module. I'll take it again. This particular I option there enables you go into the Python shell or the Python repo after running and executing all commands or instructions in your Python module or in your Python script. Now let's see this in practice. Now you could see previously without the I option, it only executed this, which is hello Sammy, and then it came back. waiting for the next instruction. But now it did this. Now that I did this, it executed this and then went straight to my Python shell, right? So I'm going to press in Ctrl D again to exit them. So that is the first option. Now, what are the use cases about this? Well, when you are running your Python module and then there are some things you would need to initialize in your Python, like in using the Python shell. Now, you can decide to run your Python project. After running your Python project, and then move to the Python repo to kind of initialize them, or to kind of actually creating them. Most times, actually using databases and all that, you might want to need this option, but then you might never use it. But then I also want to just make sure we are aware about that. All right. The next option that you could actually use is the C option. Okay, is the C option. Now, what does the C option do? This C option enables you run a Python code as a string. In other words, a string of Python code, like a single string of Python code. Okay, so to actually run this same stuff, I'm just going to do something like this. As a string, I'm going to put this, then I'll say print hello Sammy, and then what is going to happen is that Python is still going to run this, because if you see, I have actually denoted that this is a string. And again, if I still want to go back to the Python interactive mode, I could put in my I option, and you can see I'm still back at the interactive mode, the Python repo. Okay, all right. Now the third one, which most of the time you are actually going to be using. Okay, yeah, use case about this. Sorry. Use case about this C option. Now, most times when you are running your Python code, you really want to check if you have your documentation well placed, your documentation for your module, for your classes, for your functions, and all that. Instead of you just going into the Python repo to do those verification, you could actually just put them in a print statement, like print. Then you could just import. You could use something like this: print import. Then you could continue like that. And you see, you could verify the name if your documentation is proper. And then there are other use cases, but just note it is for a string. Like, you're only going to run it for just a single line, not for multiple lines. So that is one thing you will need to take note of. All right, now the most popular way in which you're going to be running your Python file in the non-interactive mode is using the M option. Now, the M option specifies a module in which you're actually going to be running with. Going to be specifying a module. So now, let's say okay, so currently here now I have just one file, which is hello Sam, right? For me to use the M, so for me to demonstrate the M, I'm just going to use a module called compile all. Now, what this module does, it converts all the Python module on the current directory where this particular Python 3, where this particular your current directory here, to a .pyc file. All right, cool. All right, guys, sorry for the quick interruption there. My internet got interrupted. I am very, very sorry about that. Okay, so we're talking about the Python module, which is the M options. So Python 3, and then I was talking about this compile all. Yeah, the compile all module. Now what the compile all module is going to do is actually going to use this, what this M option is actually going to be doing. It's going to be using this module. Sorry, it's actually going to be using this particular module to run our Python file. All right, so I'm going to press in enter, and then you can see this is the result I got. And then if I'm going to be doing an ls, you can see now I have a PyCache folder, and if I look at the PyCache folder, you can see it's converted the current py file here into its equivalent bytecode here, the pyc. And then we'll really also talk about this C Python stuff. If I actually create more files now, let's create test just test125 py. Then if I'm going to be doing an ls now if I rerun this again, cool. Now watch this closely. Now you can see that this particular M option here tells the Python interpreter I'm actually using the compile all module, which is actually a built-in module. And hey, if you are still with me and you've not subscribed, come on, hit the subscribe button, turn on the post notification bell. All right, cool. So you see that now it has converted all equivalent.py file it's converted all current existing py file to their equivalent.pyc. Now the .pyc there is specifying that it is a Python byte code. Okay, so just going to clear my screen, and then I'm going to be doing a wildcard removal here. So I'm first going to be removing the PyCache and also removing all files that begins with tests. Cool. So I'm left with my hello Sammy. Okay. Now just to go over what we've discussed on installing Python. We've also discussed on using the Python interpreter in the interactive mode. We've also discussed using Python in the non-interactive mode, and we've also discussed 3 useful options that we could actually use, which is the C option, the I option, and the M option. All right, guys, thank you for sticking through. Do take care.